credibility can only come from visibility. If we're not part of that solution, we're part of the problem. Climate capital is what I might call more patient capital. There has to be a very strong personal and immersive interest in what one does.
Hey, Sheldon, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time. I'll be asking some questions so that our audience can learn more about your experience and also about your company. So let's get started. So from your background, you have had intensive experience in asset management and real estate before co-founding KILAT. What inspired your pivot into electric mobility?
Hi, Sunny. It's great to be here and always honored to be welcome and share the story so that hopefully others can be inspired for the greater cause. It all started really whereby, my co-founder Vincent and I, we actually faced a personal problem. We are both avid riders, number one, on our motorcycles. We both have a very conscious lifestyle about our personal carbon footprint. And this is the lifestyle we have. And we just joined together and said, "Look, let's start getting on an electric motorcycle." Really couldn't find one. And then from there, we combine our personal experiences, particularly with Vincent, who's from the auto trade, and my experiences in asset management and more transformational management.
Yeah.
We just combined it and we looked at how to get ourselves on an electric motorcycle as a business.
Great. That is really inspiring story. And as I know, there aren't many founders of EV companies that actually drive a motorcycle like yourself. So it's great to know. And then I noticed that the tagline for your company is driven by a conviction to stay in the green lane. Could you unpack the meanings for your personality and also professional on that tagline?
Sure. I mean, one of the greatest problems we see, look, Vincent and I travel a lot throughout Southeast Asia for work and for leisure. And one of the greatest problems we see is that every time we walk down the street, which in a lot of these beautiful urban centers, is that we find ourselves having difficulty to breathe. And the thing is that we are just, visitors. We don't face that exposure on a daily basis. And the other thing that we notice as well is that the rise in the gig economy over the last 10 years
Yeah.
has literally spurred more riders working longer hours in more congested spaces. And we could see that, if we have the slightest chance of making a difference
Yeah.
to alleviate some of the long-term social, economic, and health impacts, then let's do it. So we started this out, and because we looked at it and we focused really much on providing the needs for the platform riders, some might call it B2B. But that is our first port of call because we believe that we're the first adopters.
Yeah.
Reason being as well is we also understand that these fleets are facing pressures from stakeholders. The investors have an ESG mandate as well. The public governments are setting deadlines for them. And even on the lower end of the spectrum, where the drivers are very conscious of the cost savings and the benefits of going on electric mobility. So what we did was we created an ecosystem for these fleets to plug in very quickly, very low friction. And what we provide is a better quality motorcycle, battery swapping on a battery that lasts longer and goes further. And then we have digital mobility tools for fleets to manage and also to report on their impact.
Yep. And I would love to dive more into KILATS. What do you think that make difference between KILATS and other electric two-wheel vehicles in South Asia?
Well, I think the first thing is the quality of the electric motorcycle. I feel that, and many agree as well, is that there is a serious mismatch of use and purpose. A lot of the electric motorcycles that are on the roads today or being promoted in Southeast Asia are motorcycles that were built for a very different purpose. I mean, the urban rigors and demands of Southeast Asian riding means that they need a longer motorcycle, bigger wheels, higher ground clearance, higher load mass. They need to negotiate more rugged terrain, such as potholes and go-up pavements. And the electric motorcycles that currently are on offer just don't do that. I mean, simply because they are made for a different purpose, whereby you have dedicated lanes, speed limits, and limitations on pillion riding. So one of the key differences is that we provide an electric motorcycle that meets their needs in a system where it's battery swapping, so cost of operation is reduced. And we are focused again on the fleets so that they can, and our back-end digital mobility tools allow them to control with predictive maintenance, they basically, everyone across the board from the driver to the fleet reduces cost.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I've heard that you combined leasing, fleet management, and battery swapping. Can you explain more about how these pieces fit together in your business model?
Sure. It's a great question. Obviously, our long-term focus will be as an infrastructure play, being battery as a service.
Yep.
However, you cannot, we noticed very early that we can't have anybody use the battery if the electric motorcycle or motorcycles that are being used don't perform for what they should do.
Yep.
So we originally, with that mindset, we started out as looking at selling electric motorcycles and then renting the battery or subscribing for the battery. However, what we found quite clearly is that most of the platform fleets go on a super asset light model, meaning they don't want to own assets. So we've had to pivot our financial model, our business model, into having a stronger balance sheet to lease out vehicles. But thankfully, we found a few parties that will purchase the bikes, basically an offtake agreement, once they are leased to these platform fleets.
Yeah. Then who are the core users of your product today?
Well, the core users are the ones that face the toughest rigors of riding, and they're pretty much the platform fleets. We started operations in 2021 in Jakarta,
Yeah.
but in the first 3 years of our operations was really understanding the riders, even to the extent of riding ourselves on that daily basis, understanding what they need, and really focusing on the use case. So with that in mind, we then focused on the platform riders, and we chose Bali as our launch pad, although now we're open in several other cities. And these riders basically now, from using other EV models, they earn 3 times more using our platform. And which is one of the greatest satisfactions to see that. Mostly is because then the riders spend less time, which means there are less safety incidents, which also means they're happier because they can spend more time with their family. And so our key users right now are the ones that demand the most rigorous use of an electric motorcycle.
Yeah, it seems like in terms of real world outcomes, KILATS have really made huge impact on cost saving, emission avoidance, and also rider livelihoods. How do you think you will scale this South Asia?
Well, I mean, the first thing is building the credibility, and the credibility can only come from visibility. So our scale model is with our anchor clients, which are the platform fleets, where we open new markets. Within Indonesia, it's a bit more manageable, but once we go cross-border into Southeast Asia, into other markets, we look for local partners. We are of no impression that we know everything and everyone. And so local knowledge is always very, very key in anything that we do. And because of that, we look for strong local partners that identify, first of all, with the use case, and secondly, with the financial model.
Yeah. And then what are the challenges that you have come across during this process?
Yeah. I mean, the challenges we face daily, and I think that is synonymous with running any kind of business. But the key challenges that we face is misinformation.
Yeah.
A lot of the platform fleets have a predefined concept of what electric motorcycle is. But once they start moving into that actual usage, they actually realize the difference. They see the difference, and simply because the demand is driven by the drivers. Platform fleets have that challenge to transition to electric mobility, and we assist them doing that. And the other challenge for them with us is that we both have to face together as a single collaborative unit in terms of reducing the harmful impacts of the environment.
Yeah. And then, as I understand, infrastructure and financing go hand in hand for companies like KILATS. So how are you working to make sure that electric mobility more accessible and affordable for SMEs and gig workers in general?
Good question. I mean, the infrastructure for Southeast Asia, in our view, is a stronger case for battery swapping, especially over the next 10 years. Most Asian cities have faced rapid urbanization over the last 30 years, which means land space is becoming much more scarce, which then means you have multi-generational family households of at least 8 to 10, and they're starting to live up in the air in terms of apartments rather than your landed kind of dwelling. The second thing about that is with this urbanization, the stress on the existing grid infrastructure is very high. And you combine both together where you have lack of space to plug in charging ports, because a charging station may take one, but you just don't do one charging station, right? When you do charging, you need to do at least 7 or 8. and you want to mix them together with four-wheelers, which means you need a much larger space. And those spaces are becoming far more rare. And if they are available, they become far more expensive. So the battery swapping system is a very small structure. It can be implemented in or commissioned in less than half an hour. And it doesn't need any uptick or any boost in the electrical cabinets. Now, the financing then, there's two elements to that. The first element is there is a governmental focus into improving the grid supply. Now, that is pretty much beyond our control or even our influence. But what we do influence on the financing side is that there is a very strong case on a long-term model. So this is a long game. We tell our financiers it's not something which you will see immediate positive returns in the next 12 to 18 months. It is a long game. It is a game filled with building up volume, but it's also a game, particularly with keeping up with technology. So you just can't stay on your same platform. You need to always consistently up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, you answered my next question, which was more about the government and financial institutions' role in your strategy. So the next question will be more about capital market and climate capital. Coming from private equity background, how do you view the role of blending finance or climate capital in scaling ventures like KILAT?
I think the first thing is the natural want to make a difference. That's very, very important. Of course, you have to blend want and need with the financial returns. And I think we're really just at the tip of the iceberg of climate funds because they still need to promote their funds to their investors on an economic model that makes sense comparatively to others. But it starts now, it's really starting to change. So climate capital is what I might call more patient capital nowadays. And you might see some of those climate funds with patient capital having far more inroads into quality deals. And the other thing about having investors in climate capital is that they also, as a company, can contribute significantly, not just in terms of introductions or business opportunities, but in terms of technologies, in terms of improving how we manage our business from an ecological and a sustainability standpoint, because they have far more experience and far more data and research, and they can really guide us in that. So to answer your question in a very short way, investors into climate funds need to understand the patience behind investing in a climate fund. The climate fund managers and the companies that they invest in need to have a common goal and need to understand each other's and mentor each other for the long term.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how do you think South Asia's ecosystem is ready to back hardware heavy and infrastructure-based climate startups like yourself?
I think one of the main problems is structure. And when I say structure, I mean corporate and financial structure. Yes, there are plenty of tax incentives for companies and investors to go green. But the end result is that still, certain countries within Southeast Asia will have the more influential pot where capital sits. And the way those capital then is invested into the various countries is one. That secondly, it is also the infrastructure from a physical standpoint. Physical infrastructure within most Southeast Asian countries is advanced, I feel, simply because of the access to information via digital platforms. And because of that, more communication can prevail. And also simply because of that, you will start seeing that channels are open more clearly between all stakeholders. And bringing that back to the platform fleets, that's why the public and governments are setting deadlines for them to transition, simply because of this open information platform that everybody faces.
Yeah, that's great. And then what is the next 12 or 18 months look like for KILAT? I'm curious.
Well, I can't even see the next 12 to 18 hours. But it for us, it is a super scale or accelerated scale model for now. It is required, financing from both debt and equity. It is also very important for us to build the right people to
That's
give
right.
us that management bandwidth within the territories and countries we go into. Which, for us, looking at that standpoint, in order to scale, we got to have a very strong talent development program.
That's right.
because it's very hard to find qualified um, staff or qualified colleague
Mm.
in this space because it's such a nascent sector.
Yeah.
And the key thing about bringing people on board, which we have, is that the unlearning is stage one,
Mm-hmm.
and then the stage two is having the belief
Mm.
and the common goal within the organization to expand and
Yeah.
to do good.
Yeah.
And that culture is, I think, one of the biggest challenges in scale.
I see. Actually, that's the same challenge that when I talk to other founders, they share. During the process of building your company, what's one lesson that you have learned as a founder that you would like to share to other founders who listen to this?
I maybe put it more in the sense of how we've come this far,
Mm,
rather than saying that, what are the challenges. If I can put it very simply, is there has to be a very strong personal and immersive interest in what
mm,
one does. And it's not something that can be manufactured. It's something that really comes from the heart.
yeah,
And, like I mentioned, Vincent and I faced the problem personally.
yeah,
And, we could sit back and wait and have our long-term corporate jobs and just wait for the market to change. But
mm,
we are also young parents and we see the future and we've got to do something, right?
yeah,
Whether or not, all the detractors and naysayers say, yeah, but, it's just a drop in the pool. But if we're not part of that solution, we're part of the problem.
mm,
And so instead of looking at, and like I mentioned, every business has its challenges.
yeah,
And one of the key things to have instead to overcome any of the challenges is to
mm,
have that deep belief and that deep immersive alignment in terms of what you do.
yeah, that's right. Clarity is very important.
Yeah, no certainty of outcome, but clarity of purpose.
That's right. Um, I think that's the last question that I have on my end. Actually, last one is, where can people find you?
On a physical basis, I spend most of my time in Bali, on the ground operational.
Yep.
I can be found on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I'm happy for you to blast my email address and my mobile number. My doors are always open. It's not just, I speak on a daily basis, almost every morning for about 2 to 3 hours. I speak to everybody in the industry,
Wow.
whether it's students from Thailand. I sometimes have calls with them. They ask, hey, how are you doing in electric mobility? I'm
Yeah.
always happy to share our experiences,
Yeah.
all the way to peers in the industry.
Yeah.
And
That's so generous of you to spend time to share
yeah,
with students. It's very
yeah,
important.
I mean, we're all learning. The main drive is that we, as all electric mobility providers, need to come to um, a certain standard that riders can respect and riders can use.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anybody as being a competitor in the electric mobility space. Our competition are riders on conventional motorcycles.
Yeah.
Those manufacturers are really our competition, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Yeah.
More people get on EV bikes, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, of course, we do have a strong yearning to be the best. But I believe if you have that community spirit for the common good, we will shine. It's the mindset that we need to bring forward.
Yeah, I like that mindset. So thank you so much, Sheldon, for your time. And it's been a pleasure. And I will be following your journey. We connected on LinkedIn to see where your companies will be going, because I know that you have a lot of plan for that. And I look forward to see what you guys will be. And have a great day and great week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sunny. You take care.